Hey guys, Kreyve here again. Today we're going to be looking at the different races in World of Warcraft. If you're just starting out, or even if you've been playing for a while, you might be wondering what the differences are between the races, other than just the basic looks. Now today's particular guide is for Alliance, and there will be another video for Horde shortly. Okay, if you take a look at the right hand side of the screen, in World of Warcraft when you're selecting a race, you can actually see a description about the different races, and in that there's this little yellow text here that explains differences in the races and talks about the racial abilities that each race gets. So we're going to start by having a look at humans today. Okay, so as you can see here, firstly, humans get an increase to stealth detection. This ability allows them to see stealth opponents, such as rogues, druids, and stealth-enabled monsters at a greater distance, and they can more effectively detect stealth opponents that are at a higher level than them. This is probably one of the human race's stronger racial abilities. Now, humans also get an increase to spirit, and a bonus to any reputation that they earn, and increased expertise with swords and maces, which basically gives them a higher chance to hit when using those weapons. Now, one of the more interesting racial abilities that humans get is the ability to break out of speed altering and trapping effects. So if they're slowed or trapped in any way, they can use a racial ability that has a cooldown. They can pop that racial and they can get out of it once every so often. Now just a quick word on expertise before we move on. As you saw that humans get an increase in expertise rating. What it actually does, it reduces the chance that your opponent can dodge or parry your attack. So unlike hit rating, it's not really your ability to hit your opponent, but it counteracts the opponent's ability to stop you hitting them. Okay, so to recap, humans have an increase to stealth detection, an increase to their spirit statistic, a bonus to any reputation that they earn, an increased expertise with swords and maces, which reduces their opponent's chance to avoid by dodging or parrying their attacks when they use a sword or a mace, and they get a special ability which allows them to break out of speed altering and trapping effects. It's worth noting that that ability, which is actually called Every Man for Himself, is an instant cast and suffers a 2-minute cooldown. And that's much like the PvP trinket that removes all impairing effects that cause loss of control of your character. So that pretty much sums up the human playable race in World of Warcraft. Okay, so next up is Dwarves. Now Dwarves have a couple of interesting racial traits. The first is their Stone Form ability. This is an instant cast and has a 3-minute cooldown. And what this does, it lasts for 8 seconds and it removes any bleed, poison, and disease effects that might be on your character. And in addition, for the 8-second duration, your armor is increased by 10%. Dwarves also get a passive ability called Gun Specialization, which increases their chance to critically hit with guns by 1%. 1% may not seem like very much, but it all adds up. On top of this, Dwarves have a built-in frost resistance of 2%, which means they are 2% less likely to be hit by frost spells. Dwarves also possess the ability to track treasure, which means when you cast this, you can see treasures on the minimap, and it just stays on until you cancel it. It's kind of like tracking herbs or minerals. And lastly, Dwarves possess Mace Specialization, which is a passive ability that increases expertise with one-handed maces and two-handed maces by 5 points. And as we previously said, expertise is the ability to counteract your opponent's ability to dodge or parry your attacks. So it's effectively increasing your chance to hit your opponent. So once again, Dwarves have Stone Form, Gun Specialization, increased frost resistance, the ability to see treasure on the minimap, and an increased expertise with maces. Okay, so now we're going to be having a look at Night Elf racial abilities. Night Elves have an ability called Shadow Meld. This is an instant cast, 2-minute cooldown ability, which reduces the chance of enemies to detect your presence. It's kind of like stealth, but not really. It stops enemies from being able to see you, like stealth does, but if you move, it gets cancelled. And once it's stopped, if you're still in combat, any aggro that you have on enemies will immediately be restored. So it's kind of like a more toned down version of stealth, if you like. Now if you're a Night Elf, Rogue, or Druid, you also get an ability called Elusiveness. This reduces the chance enemies have to detect you while you're shadow melded or stealthed. So it improves stealth or the shadow meld abilities, but again, only rogues or druids get this passive ability. Night Elves also possess the passive racial called Quickness, which reduces the chance that melee and ranged attackers will hit you by 2%, so it means that opponents are more likely to miss you. Oh, and by the way, I know that it's melee, not melee, but I say melee, so you'll just have to get used to that. Night Elves also get another racial ability, which is kind of interesting. It's called the Wisp Spirit passive ability. When a Night Elf dies, they are transformed into a wisp rather than a regular ghost. And instead of having their speed increased by 50% like a regular ghost does, their speed's increased by 75%, so it allows them to corpse run a little bit faster. Not all that useful, but it saves you a little bit of time. And lastly, Night Elves get an increased nature resistance ability. This is a passive ability that reduces the chance you'll be hit by nature spells by 2%. And so once again, Night Elves get Shadow Meld, Elusiveness if they're a rogue or a druid, Quickness, Wisp Spirit ability, and increased nature resistance. And now we have what was, up until the Burning Crusade came out, the last available race to the Alliance, which is the Devious Gnome, possibly the most hated race, especially by Horde. I know a lot of Horde players love to destroy gnomes, and a lot of Alliance players love to play as gnomes in order to annoy Horde players. Now, love them or hate them, gnomes possess racial abilities just like every other race. They get an ability called Escape Artist. This is an instant cast with 1.75 minutes cooldown. That means just under 2 minutes. And this allows you to escape the effects of any immobilization or movement speed reduction effect. Gnomes also get the ability Expansive Mind, which is a passive ability that increases intellect by 5%. Not useful to warriors or rogues, but is useful to mages and warlocks, which gnomes can play as. Gnomes also get the ability to resist arcane magic more easily by 2%. So their arcane resistance is increased. And finally, lastly, gnomes get a 15-point skill increase to the engineering trade profession. And so to recap, gnomes get Escape Artist, which removes any immobilization or movement speed reduction effect, Expansive Mind, which increases intellect by 5%, a 2% increase to arcane resistance, and 15 points increase to the engineering skill if they choose to learn it. And now finally we get to the last race available currently for the Alliance. This race is the Draenei. Some people say Draenei or Draenei, but I say Draenei. Anyway, these were added in the Burning Crusade, and they have 4 racial abilities. Firstly, they get an ability called Gift of the Naru. This is a castable ability. This is basically a healing spell, and it works by healing your target for 35 plus 15 points per level over 15 seconds with a 40-yard range. It's instant cast and has a 3-minute cooldown. So again, that's 35 points of health plus 15 per level over 15 seconds. And the amount healed is increased based on your spell power or your attack power. If your spell power is higher, the increase will be based on that. If your attack power is higher, your increase will be based on that. And the base numbers at level 1, it's going to be able to restore 50 health, and at level 80 it's going to be able to restore 1235 health. But again, your spell power and attack power can increase those figures. Draenei also get the ability called Heroic Presence. This is a passive ability that increases your chance to hit by 1% for you and all your surrounding party members within 30 yards. In addition to this, you'll get a 5-point skill bonus to the jewel crafting profession. It's not much, but 5 points helps a little bit, and it raises the cap by 5 as well. And lastly, Draenei get a 2% increase to shadow resistance, so their chance to be hit by shadow spells is reduced by 2%. So to recap the Draenei, you have the Gift of the Naru, which is a heal, Heroic Presence, which increases the hit chance by 1% for you and all your party members, 5 points increase to Jewel Crafting Profession if you choose to get it, and a 2% increase in shadow resistance. Okay, so that pretty much sums up the Alliance playable races. Hopefully this video was helpful to you in some way in choosing your first or maybe second or maybe 40th character. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, and don't forget, if you like what you see, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching, and if you're a Horde fan, we'll have a video for you very, very shortly.